Welcome back to another Askari Cast. My name is Rod Van Blake, author of the Ancient Illumination series as well as the Umbani Chronicles, and I am joined once again by Jocelyn Short.
Hi,
She is the creator of what's your series again?
bearers.
Bearers. He's waiting her. She's a graphic artist and illustrator, waiting on her to come out with that comic. She also does some awesome book covers. We are also joined by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey everybody.
He's another graphic artist, illustrator, creator, and now writer because he has a couple of his own comic series going in the garden and I'm losing it today. Uh, Eve of
Well,
Insurrection, Eve
yep,
of
you got it.
Incarnation. There we go. And he's also the illustrator on the Ancient Illumination graphic novels as well as the Umbani Chronicles comics. And today we're just vibing. No notes. We are discussing the final three episodes of Andor. So if you are not caught up, spoiler alert. The last three episodes aired, was it last week?
Yep.
Tuesday. And so now we are done. It's a wrap. No more Andor. And this, I don't know how y'all feel, but this was at least a 9.5, possibly a 10, as close as I rarely can give anything a 10 because I just, nothing can be perfect, but this is as
Mm-hmm.
close to it in my opinion. It hit all the story beats. We only have one thing that kind of fell off that was never picked up, and I think that was possibly purposefully done. Um, it was a thrilling series. I was not expecting Clea at all to have the moments that she had, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why one of the reasons why I think this show was so successful was that it was really grounded. Like these
Mm-hmm.
weren't the Jedi or the Sith. It wasn't the Emperor, but it was like the bottom rung of people that really make things happen. Like we make the world go round. All you higher ups may make plans, but in order for them to be facilitated, these are the people you need to get it done. And in this case, it's featuring the rebellion and the bureaucracy within the Empire and the ISB trying to find these elusive agents that are operating and kind of throwing monkey wrenches into their plans. What do you guys think?
I loved it. Um, I thought this was really, really awesome. I feel like if, and I feel like as someone who is, like I'm a Star Wars fan, but I'm not as in depth as you all are. So I feel like every time I watch a new thing, I'm putting together bits and pieces of the universe and the lore. And I feel like even if I didn't know anything, and I kind of didn't know anything, like I saw, I've seen episode 4. And I've seen Rogue One, but it's been a really long time since I've seen Rogue One, so I barely remember what happened in that movie. But so even as a show, by like in a way, I was kind of watching it without that much context,
Hmm.
and it was still very enjoyable, still very thrilling. Everyone was very interesting, like, and I felt the weight of everything where it was supposed to be felt. Um, like it really, and it feels to me, this show feels so poignant. Like watching this show, I felt like, okay, I I get why Star Wars continues to be in the zeitgeist. It continues to be relevant to this day. Like it continues to mirror what is happening in the real world, and
Yep.
really speak on these issues and illustrate, like, listen, this is not it's fiction, but fiction is based from somewhere.
And
So
art imitates life, and
yeah,
vice versa. So, one
yeah.
situation.
So it just I loved I love the exploration of seeing how being a part of the resistance, or being a part of a resistance, any resistance to strong, deep oppression, the effects that it can have on a single person, like as an individual and as a collective, like just seeing the effects, how it can erode your sense of self over time, that kind of stuff. Just what it costs, what it truly costs a person to be a part of a resistance, and why it's still important to be that. you know what are you willing to give up? Who are you? Do you know who
Mm-hmm.
you are when you go in? Do you know who you might be when you come out? Are you okay with losing yourself? Like that kind of. I liked all those questions that the show brought up, and I loved how it was answering it through all these different characters' journeys. Like Saul to me is a very interesting character.
Mhm.
He's the radical. He's the radical. So good.
Hmm.
Pluty, Pluty, Pluty,
Go keep going.
Pluty. Show him how many variations there are. And that was a character right there.
Mhm.
We get to see a spectrum of good and evil, meaning
Yep.
that they're not necessarily all absolute evil or absolute good, but we get spectrums of both. Um, Partagast, the major that ends up, like I said, spoiler alert, the one that ends up killing himself before he can get
100%.
arrested and put on trial for the things with the Death Star plans blown up in their faces. He to me was like one of the perfect bureaucrats. And he was just all about believing in the system, even though the system's doing things that are evil.
Mhm.
He just kind of went along with it. So inherently, he still is evil, but he's not the one pushing the buttons, but he's kind of overseeing things and uh, dissonance. He's just, since it's not effective. I mean, we have this, like you said, in real life, this things happen where things that affect you may not necessarily affect me, and because they're not affecting me right now, it's all good. I'm not gonna say nothing. And he was like one of the epitome of that. Like good, what do you say? Bad luck Gorman after the Gorman thing
Oh,
blew up. He's like, hey, I don't know much about the science of it, but we did research and we couldn't get the substance out of the ground without possibly destroying the planet. Bad luck Gorman. Like, bro, really? Tell a whole
dirty.
planet it's just bad luck. Uh, it really, like I said, we still could have ended. I think last week we talked about it. Like
Mhm.
7, 8, and 9 could have been the end of the show, would not have been good. But I'm glad we did get these last 3 episodes to see the formulation of the rebellion, um, and how everything kind of ties in. This show to me had a lot of meat to it. Like there were member berries here and there when they try and nostalgia bait you, but pretty much all the things that we saw in the show were highly connected to other things and other shows, other series, other films, and it wasn't just a hey, remember this cool thing,
Mhm.
here you go. Like no, that actually means something. Like when you end season 2 on Andor, I believe he's leaving to Caprine, and
Hmm.
that's the opening scene for
Roll one.
Rogue One, where he's going to talk to somebody on Caprine to get this information about this super weapon that. So it dovetails perfectly into that, and we also know the handshake between Rogue One and Episode 4, A New Hope, where you see Darth Vader at the end with his fist at the end of looking out as the Tantive 4 is leaving, and they chase them and go blow up Alderaan after that. So it like ties perfectly in. This was some episodes I believe were slower than others, but this to me was like a good stew.
You said it
This
was a good mixture.
a mixture. It was a good stew.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
People always want that fast, the instant gratification, but this show was a stew. You put everything in the pot.
Yeah,
It's like this
slow
is
cook.
gonna be 5 to 8 hours of waiting. And you don't know if it's gonna be really good, and then you
Mhm.
wait an hour or two and you open up the top of that crock pot and you stir it, and then the smell just starts wafting to the rest of the house. It's slow. Now it's just building anticipation of being able to eat. What's starting to smell better and better as the day goes on until evening comes. You can finally, and that's what the show was like for me. Um, it was in depth. Like I said, the lower rung of society that we don't normally hear about. They're not necessarily the heroes, but they're the people that get stuff done that we need there. Like without them, nothing happens. Uh, but my
Agreed.
favorite part of this last trilogy has to be Luthen and Clea interplay, where she,
Mhm.
you know, was it episode 10 where
Yeah.
Luthen gets captured at the end of at the end
Yeah, I think that's yes, that's 10.
yeah.
So
So you
yeah,
get
that's a
Dedra
part of 10.
Miro that pops up on his doorstep when he's trying to destroy everything in the art shop. It's like he's covering his tracks. You can't look at who we've been communicating to. We're gonna destroy everything, and she just pops up out of nowhere. Dedra Miro is like if doing too much was a person, because she, I think, would have been okay had she just took her lumps and went on about her business, but she had to go and try and make an arrest on her own.
It was that ego, man. It was that ego.
Because
She was like, I'm the one who started this. I gotta finish this.
it's her and the other dude. I can't remember his name now, but the guy who was searching for Cassian,
Zero.
Zero, her and him. That's why they're a perfect match. Both of them
Mhm.
together, the goodest boys. That's my
They
name
were
for that
drinking the
archetype.
Kool-Aid.
Just the goodest boys who have to do the best at their job because that's what they believe in is their job is the job, you know. And regardless of who it affects, they're like, I'm good at this job. But also, you like you said, she's doing the most. I remember at the beginning of the season, she said she didn't even want to do this job, but
Well, no,
like
she didn't want to do the job on Gorman.
Shit, she
She
didn't want
wanted
that
she
Gorman
wanted to
job.
keep
okay,
following Axis. That was her problem.
Yeah.
That's why the
okay,
other dude,
And that's why she got caught
you're no
up.
longer on the Axis desk. When she was like, "Well, you didn't even call me. When you get a lead, I could have helped. You can get all the glory." Like she still wanted to be investigating the thing. She didn't want the new job. That when he took her off of Axis and gave her the Gorman assignment, that's the one she's like, "I don't want to do this. This ain't what I was sent here for."
okay.
Cyril was one of the goodest boys, but he truly thought he was the goodest boy because he thought
Mhm.
the system and the way of life that he thought he was defending was on the side of justice. He
Mhm.
thought he thought he was the hero. He was doing something good. He was catching criminals and corruptors and insurrectionists that were trying to disturb the system. And then he got to know some of the people on Gorman, and he felt bad because now he's basically responsible for infiltrating them and causing the disturbance that basically ushers in their destruction. So when he found out that what was really going on, he was like, "Oh, I didn't sign up for this," and that's when he told Dedra goodbye because she still believed, like, "Look, we're going to be handsomely rewarded. We'll be together. We'll be back on Coruscant." He's like, "I didn't. I thought I was the man. I thought I was being good, and we're downright evil." And that's when his worldview was kind of crashed. That like it's one of my favorite character arcs of many that we've watched. That character arc alone, him, he's not even the main character, but his when we see him as a security guard on that outpost in the Outer Rim, chasing Andor that brings him back into Coruscant, and he becomes part of the main system. That whole arc from him and just being because you think he's just despicable little suck up. And he thinks and when he gets himself a little bit of authority, you can tell he's feeling himself at a certain point when he starts overstepping his bounds. He's walking past Imperial officers, not even paying them no mind. Like, bro, you just top flight security of the world, Craig, a minute ago on this outer rim planet. Now you over here bypassing Imperial officers. Like, that's crazy. But he came full circle, and then the ultimate insult, the dude that you've been chasing, that you've been seeing pictures of all around the galaxy, didn't even think of you because he has no idea who you are. And he's like, "Who are you?" My boy was flabbergasted in
Best
that
line,
moment.
Ah,
the best line ever. Who are you?
Yeah,
chef's kiss.
yeah. And then he got domed, killed in one shot to the back of the head. That's a wrap on him. Uh, so yeah, that was an intense setup with Dedra coming in to get Luthen, trying to arrest him on his own, and he pulls a slick move and tries to take himself out with one of his artifacts before, like, "You're not gonna get no information out of me because I'm gonna be dead." And she tries to keep him alive because she knows, like, that's basically the reason why she ends up in prison. It's not just that she overstepped, but the one person that could give them the information they needed now you couldn't keep alive because you didn't go in with a plan and a backup.
Right.
You went in solo, like you were just going super cop this all on your
She
own.
she was acting like she was part of the rebellion. Now that I think about it, after what Krennic said, his comment about her kind of acting like the rebels, I'm like, yeah, she actually was. She was just like trying to lone ranger it, trying to be like Cassian. I'm like, nah, it didn't work this go around with him being your bargaining chip. So
How hilarious was that? My boy Krennic with his finger on top of her head, like,
yeah, that was wild. I saw a point that said that was improvised.
I think so.
She got to jump.
It's a big finger too. Like,
Yeah,
Like, why are you
it's
touching me? Why are you touching me?
you get
crazy.
that black leather glove on, and just
Yeah. Every time I don't know, it's funny when I like listen to that, his kind of like, I don't know if that's a monologue or like his speech in that scene. I don't know. He also he reminds he's like that. He's just like that boss that like he takes his job very seriously. He yells at people, very authoritative. But then I remember that like you're underneath somebody else, buddy.
yeah,
You
that's
got
always the
somebody
biggest
else
thing.
you got to report to, and I'm like, you are just he like I don't know. It feels like he just has a loud bark,
Yeah,
and it's just like, come on, bro. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I felt like he had he had there was energy that kind of reminded me of Palpatine in a way. In a
yeah,
way, how he was talking, I was like, yeah, oof,
I mean,
it's
I
got
imagine
different.
I imagine the closer you get to Palpatine, the more you start to maybe become like him, or start to have that hubris about you.
That
yeah,
exploit. You got to exploit people, belittle them when you can.
yeah. He's just about taking credit. That was Krennic's whole thing. And then the funniest thing is in Rogue One, then it gets the same thing he was doing to everybody else gets done to him.
Invaders.
Like immediately. When Tarkin is like, I'll be taking over this
And
battle
Tarkin.
station immediately. And he's like, what you talking about? This is my work. And he's like, nah, it's your boy that gave up the Death Star plans on Edu. And yeah, I'm gonna go see about that. He takes off. But yeah, the after we get Luthen stabs himself trying to take himself out, they put him on life support. And then I think that's the end of the 10th episode is you see Clea coming up at the last moment to see the Imperial transport as they took Luthen's body and takes off. And she's like, oh no, we can't let him. She figures out which hospital. I guess the ISB only takes you to one hospital on Coruscant, which is funny. Um, I guess it'd be tantamount to like when political figures here get seriously injured, they take them to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. I guess that was the best medical facility on Coruscant. They took him to make sure that he didn't die. And Claire goes on this little infiltration mission where she in person. First of all, she knows where the employee locker room in the hospital is. Steals somebody's schmuck or scrubs, whatever it is, in little circular lockers, and gets her John Wick on. Just she she grabbed one of the elderly in the wheelchair,
Yeah.
ran in, started just carting them around so they can get. And then once she figured out what floor was, blocked off by the Imperial, she knew that that's where she had to go, and she just carted them off and came back.
Person in that wheelchair didn't know right from left. They were like,
Yeah. Just
"What?"
what?
They're just
What?
making the noises.
Alien language, what? And then she said, what?
Yeah,
Right?
Wow, when she said what to the alien, I'm like, why are you saying
What?
what?
I think that might have been improvised. That was
What?
funny.
What?
What?
She said what?
What do you mean?
Oh, this is crazy.
Yeah. She goes in, disconnects the life support, so Luthen can die. She says, and meanwhile, interspersed with all this action that we're getting flashbacks of how Luthen met Clea. Now,
Yes, I
there
have a
was
lot
a
of
lot of
questions
theories
about that.
about Clea possibly being. That would have been funny to me if she was Andor's sister, because you see he finds her as a child on
Mhm.
some war-torn planet. But I think his sister died on that planet that they were from because that was another place the Empire had done something um, environmentally, which why people didn't know why all the adults were killed. And that's why
Mhm.
there were a bunch of kids because something happened there where there was like a blow up or nuclear fallout. Something happened there where the adults were gone and there were just the kids left. So I think, sadly, I think that's what happened to his sister. But there were a lot of theories that thought that maybe Clea was secretly Andor's sister and they just didn't know. But that would be both of them being crazy spy agents.
Yeah.
Um, for the end up working for the same side. It would have been crazy if they were working on opposite sides.
See, that would have been fine with that actually. That would have
Yeah,
worked. Two siblings on the opposite side of the law, that trope, I would have been fine with that.
Some of the
Right.
Empire picks her up,
Yeah.
teaches her the game, say this is how you do it. This is how you infiltrate, this is how you kill. You know what I mean? You gotta be stealthy. Yeah, she put in work. She tied her
Yeah.
she tied her hair up in that little bun in the room, like, okay, I know where he's at. I'm gonna go get him. She goes in and gets him, and then ends up somehow back at the this safe house was really safe because it's not till the very end that they discovered the location of this safe house
They
in
were
prison,
struggling. They couldn't
which is
find it.
yeah, but it's one of the most surveilled planets in the galaxy. Like this is where they have all the cameras, listening devices, people. I mean, even the Senate. Every Senate office was bugged, so
Mm-hmm.
they can't they can't find this one little apartment on the west side.
They like, we don't really go over there like that.
So yeah, she goes to the spot, and that's the thing that I'm wondering if they wouldn't have been alerted had she not sent the pulse signal out.
Yeah, they would have never found her if it wasn't for the fact that they were at the hideout. I mean, at the antique shop, and I was like, "Damn it!" I'm
Yeah,
like, "Oh
no, but
man."
she puts together a radio at the safe house.
No, I know, but
Yeah,
because that they're all connected. That's what
yeah,
I'm saying. Like that woman from the ISB picks up on her frequency because everything's connected. I'm like, "Damn it!"
yeah,
I think she
Ugh.
also, and you could see in her face that she knew that, like, all right, if I do this, I know what I'm also inviting. Like you could see it in her face, like as she was like calling for help, because I think she knew that the signal was going to get picked up. So it was just like almost like a last ditch call, like for
Yeah.
some hope.
yeah.
Like I really hope that they see that they get this before they come find me, or they find this place. Because at that point I think she pulled out all the stops. Like she killed Luthen because she was like, they can't win this, and he wouldn't want this.
Nope.
So she did what she had to do, and then she was like, all right, I can't be the only one who knows this information.
Yeah.
Also, so there's nothing else left to do. He's gone. So
And they don't know because they think they're going to pick up Luthen
hmm
when she hits the call on the radio. Again, we get to this show is so gritty, and we get to see spectrums. So we get to see my boys in the ISB SWAT team, basically in stormtrooper armor with no helmet.
Uh-huh.
Just,
How do you feel about
I mean, it
that?
was dope.
Wow.
It was like a
Okay.
little tactical team. They
Yeah,
just
yeah,
popped up, and they were all. I don't know if you noticed how they were clearing corners as they
yeah.
came into the sector. They knew what floor that the signal was coming from. The ISB agents would lower their weapons with the flashlights on them so that if someone came around the corner, they wouldn't immediately uh, sight in on them and take
Mhm.
them out. And of course, Melchi is the one that pops out first, and they hit them with like basically a flashbang, and then the firefight starts. Oh, the officer that took over the access desk being used as a human shield by K2SO.
That was crazy. And I'm trying to remember his name, and it's been frustrating me the entire time. I'm like, what was homie's name? Lonnie's best friend, air quotes.
And the one ISB agent that gets pimp smacked off the railing when he asked
Yeah.
K2SO, "Are you with us?" And my boy's like, "No."
Nope.
Yo,
Nope.
K2 is amazing, but also it's so scary that those robots exist as a force of their military. Like that to be used on civilians, or just in general.
Yeah.
Like it's so scary. Like they're so strong, and they just tossing folk.
Yeah,
Okay, backhanded folk,
yeah.
it all up and down.
You finna
Okay,
get these metal
Oh,
hands and
man.
feet. We don't need to put
launching
no
folk in the
blasters out.
walls and stuff. That's crazy.
Y'all get full clangage. We gonna slap you up with these metal
Like,
feet and hands
That's
in
what
them
I'm
streets.
saying. But K2 couldn't be bothered. I was like, listen, K coming. It
Yeah, yeah. But and the
hey,
funny thing
coming,
is, it was a good thing he was there because Kay knew that they were being jammed.
Yep.
He's sitting in the ship. He looks up like, oh, something's blocking the signal. He's well, I know what's blocking the signal. He sees the other ship. He just walks over there because then remember the Imperials that are monitoring the situation, their signal gets cut off. And K2 goes over there and eliminates the whole team over there. Then he walks in and commits to rescuing them. Because if he hadn't come out, they likely are done for. They're pinned in the apartment. Clea is knocked out from the flashbang. Andor is groggy, but Melshi seems not the worst for wear. But they were clearly pinned down, and backup was on the way. But the thing is, because they had put out the medical alert, I think was the only reason why more didn't come faster to their location. Remember, because they didn't want to put out exactly what happened. So in order, when they had the picture of Clea up and Krennic is talking to Partagast, and they were trying to figure out how can we message this so it's not telling them what exactly we're doing. And he was like, make it a medical thing. Tell us she's diseased and she's got something, and that everybody should stay as far away from her as possible, and then we can go in unimpeded to just grab her wherever she is. And because they had like a planet-wide search going on, there were so many search parties out in other places, they didn't have enough backup to get there in time to stop them from leaving. K2 and the crew get clear, and they're able to rendezvous at Yavin. And that was a good little send off, good little beginning. We get closure to almost everything in this series. We see. I knew it was when they put Dedra in the interrogation room. I knew it was a wrap. I did not expect to see her show up in the prison outfit at the end.
Oh, at the end, that threw you off? Maybe.
It didn't throw me off. I was just surprised. And I think that's Narkina 2, not Narkina 5. It's a different facility than that.
Gotcha. I don't know. At this point in the series, it became very clear that like within the Empire, like within all the organizations, there's this system of like people not working in community, people come like corporate America, like people are just working against each other, trying to climb the ladder or trying to cover their own ass. And so like to watch Dedra, like it was annoying, like when Dedra, was locked up, and then Young's best friend, the other ISB person, comes in and tries to get some information from her, and it's kind of like, what's the point of helping people if you know you're in jail? Like, but you're indoctrinated, so you're going to do it anyway. But like, we watch countless times as they throw people under the bus. She the only woman there, so of course they were like, we can get her out of here. So it was kind of like, I expected this one. I mean, the moment she was in prison, I was like, all right, this is going downhill. So I was like, dang. But they got her on that. It wasn't the floor. If they in the first season, if they were to step on that floor after a certain point, wouldn't it heat up?
No, they'd release water and they would electrocute you.
There we go. Electrocution.
Remember, we didn't find out until later that whole prison system was surrounded by water.
Yeah.
It was a little island prison. It was they call it the tank or what? I don't know what they call it, but I'd call it the tank because they're all out in the middle of the ocean. You can't go nowhere.
Yeah. It was so deep. They had so many levels. Like I remember the visuals from it, and it was like awesome.
Yeah. And nobody actually left. They thought, I only have 180 more days. And 180 days, you just got moved to another section. And they thought, that was why they kept working, because they were working supposedly towards their freedom, not knowing, you're just getting transferred. You're not getting out. You just go to another place and continue working. We'll just take you as far away from this group that you've been working with, so you can't tell them what's going on. She ends up. I didn't get a good look at who her bunkmate was above her, but I was hoping it wasn't the ISB worker that gave the thing to Andor for the TIE Avenger. Remember the light-skinned lady that was on site?
Yeah.
He was posing as a test pilot.
Yeah.
Because she looked like she could have been like a light-skinned black lady, but I don't really see her. But she's up at the top bunk and she lays down, the lights shut off, and that's when you see Dedra kind of hunched over, crying on her bunk. But I didn't get a good look. I'm hoping that's not the same. I hope that character got away.
Yeah, I hope so too. That was many years ago too.
Yeah.
So much time had gone by. I'm like, I hope she got away.
Yeah. So yeah, this was a real. The depth of this thing is what makes it so good, and I think the more, like Jocelyn, you're saying, you're not as familiar with the Star Wars stuff. It's just when you are, there's just so much more meat to the bones of this series. And like I said, it almost transforms the watching of other things because you have the clues from this to recognize in those other things. Like it made Rogue One more enjoyable for me watching it, even though I knew what was going to happen. Some things is like, oh, I was used to watching this, I already know what's going on. But it was an enjoyable watch after going through Andor and seeing what was, how everything transpired, knowing what was happening, knowing what was going to happen to Saul, and you see the transformation of Saul Guerrero uh, within this show into Rogue One. He has a couple transformations in Rogue One when you first see him lift up the little manhole to find Jyn Erso, and he's got his head shaved.
Right.
And this is like directly after Andor. My wife made that comment. She's like, "Oh, he cut his hair," and then like the next time you see him, he's got the little half Frederick Douglass afro going on again. He grew his hair back out in the interim, but you see that, and he's more mechanical. He had two mechanical feet, and they weren't matching. I didn't recall that.
Yeah, my man, she went through it.
He was on
Can
one.
we get a spinoff with him? I kind of just
Yeah. Oh my
I want to
gosh.
see. I need to get. We need more of him. Like he shows up in Clone Wars. That's cool.
And he
But
shows up
like
in
this man's
Star
off his rock.
Wars
He's on
Fallen
one.
Jedi, the
Trademark. He's
video
on
game.
one.
He was on one.
He's on one.
Oh
Trademark.
yeah. I don't know if the huffing the Redonium either caused his breathing issues
It
or
probably did.
he's hooked up to his personal supply.
That's what.
That was
Last
crazy.
week, I think before they dropped the last 3 episodes, I rewatched Rogue One. That was literally what I was thinking too. I was like, man, he has his drugs there on him,
Yeah,
just right there all
he
the
has a weird
time.
look on his face. He like huffing, like he's just looking at you all crazy. And then he had the thing where he had to pull the string to reattach it into
Yeah.
its proper placement on his suit. I'm like, I don't know whether
Oh,
he's helping himself or he's just continually getting high now with that.
you know
tank
what's
on.
interesting? I'd be interested in a spin-off with him where like we explore more of the effects of that stuff on him, like whether he's taking it to cope with what he's having to do in his extreme distrust of everyone, or if he's truly taking it to continue to do what he feels he needs to do, but
Yeah.
also it's also a way out for
Yeah.
him, so it's an out for him to at some point no longer have to do this stuff.
And his son's out there. We got little Forrest out there, so we can just you don't even have to you don't have to use the CGI to de-age him. You can just have earlier versions of him have his son come play
Hey, bam, we got him.
the younger him, and I think that would work. Yeah, I was sad again seeing him go in Rogue One. Yeah, this whole thing lined up. What did y'all think of Mon Mothma's husband showing up in the speeder car with Davos's wife at the end?
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah, you see the car, and it's
Yeah,
Mon Mothma's husband. But I was thinking because Davos was the one that basically fronted the money to make Mon Mothma's banking look up to par. He's officially attached to the Empire, and I believe the broadcast system. He had something to do with the broadcast system. That
he's in control of it, right?
Yeah, that Mon Mothma had that last speech implicating Palpatine. I'm thinking Davos got arrested. And if Davos is out of the picture and Mon Mothma is off with the rebellion, Perrin, her husband's
slide in there.
Yeah, he slid in the DMs real quick. Hey, both of our spouses got clapped up. They arrested.
Yeah, we're gonna clap.
Yeah, we
He was
single
like,
and ready to mingle again. We've already been we've been partying the whole time, so we might as well just keep partying,
he
and we don't have to be
said,
hush hush about it because they gone.
he said our losses cut themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was really good. Like,
Yeah.
what? That's crazy. That's wild. Yeah, he said. I mean, well,
Yeah.
here we are.
We don't get to see what happened to her daughter that just married.
Yeah, they let that one
son. We don't see the sister. We don't see.
I feel like that's commentary.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the fact that we don't ever see her again
yeah.
is like she didn't even matter in the grand scheme of any of this, like to anyone, and that's so sad.
I saw somebody's video commenting that they were surprised that they didn't see what happened to Andy Serkis's character on Narcina 5. I'm like, but he said he can't swim. You know what happened. You don't have to see.
He
You don't have
drowned.
to
What do
see
you
the
mean?
man's
He
ring?
drowned.
You wanted to see
He
that?
drowned. That person just wanted to see Andy Serkis again. That's what that was. That's all that was. That's Andy Serkis.
Everybody jumping to their freedoms and swimming away. And they look at him, ain't you gonna get your freedom? And he's like, can't swim.
Can't swim.
That's a phrase. You jump into their freedoms. I feel like you will say that to anybody anytime anybody jump into a pool
Yeah.
with some water. You gonna jump to your freedoms.
Jump to your freedoms. Andor is full circle. He gets to fulfill his destiny. Oh, we didn't even talk about Bix at the end.
The baby?
Yeah, we get the baby.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering
So
if she knew in that moment that she left that she was pregnant with the
I think
kid.
she did. I think she
Okay.
did.
Or
I think
was she
otherwise,
solely just leaving because she knew that Cassian
honestly,
had a destiny that she didn't want to interfere with?
it could have been both.
Both.
It could have been either. It could have been both, or it could have been either or. Like if we go by just what we know from when she first left, that she was like, I will never forgive myself if I allow you to use me as an excuse to not continue on with this. But and then maybe later on she found out she's pregnant, and she was like, well, now I'm extra glad I left, because I feel like I don't know,
They made it seem
maybe
like she was going to be doing something for Jan Dodonna because Vel comes and talks to her. Like she has her own missions to go on, but then we see her kind of chilling. But I did also notice that she wasn't taking the drops on Yavin. You see her drinking a little morning tea or coffee, whatever she was drinking.
Good. She got rid of the drugs. Good.
Maybe
Nice.
I'm
Yeah,
thinking maybe it's because she was pregnant
baby.
and she started. She's like, can't take the drops no more because it might harm the baby. You don't want the baby coming out with this, off the stuff.
That's interesting, and so that could give more, that could give more reason for her to have, especially for her to not tell him too. Because he, they were together and she wasn't taking the stuff, and he could have just been like, okay, well, she's better because we're together, and we're I'm gonna set it up so we can get out of here. And she was like, oh, actually, no, let me go ahead and dip.
I'm out. Don't call me. I'll call you.
I'll find you.
Yeah,
That's
when this is
shenanigans.
over,
I'm gonna go find you. I'm like, how you gonna do that?
Sad to say, he is a mist of atoms in what used to be the orbit of Scarif.
Yeah, he was hooked up with another woman named Jenner, so they didn't make it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they did not.
She don't know that, but that's what happened.
But yeah, it was interesting to see this because at any point it seemed like there were so many things that could have gone wrong and them not get these plans. You know what we don't see? Did anybody see any Bothans?
What's that?
They're alien in Star Wars. And the line in Star Wars New Hope, there were many Bothans that died to get us these plans.
What do they look like? Hold on.
I'm Googling.
Like, do we see any Bothans in this show? I mean, it's a nitpick, but
I
the line is
there. I ain't never seen them.
I feel like we saw one early on. Was there one at that party? Early, like at the beginning of the season? I feel like I saw one. Or at some point, maybe not at that party, but I feel like I saw one.
We might have. I'm gonna have to rewatch and see if I can find one of those little werewolf-looking things. But
yeah, they look like dog people. Dog
look like antelope.
Just a lot of things.
Antelope, lion, giraffe, horse.
Antelope, lion, giraffe, horse.
I just remember the line that when they were talking about how important it was that they got this information, they credit them as the ones that laid down their life to get the information to the rebellion so that they could destroy the Death Star. And then I guess so when we see that we know it's another Death Star So I think that may be the one that Dedra and the crew are working on, because we find out at the end of season one that that's what the prison where Andor, Cassian Andor was. They're building the first Death Star, and we see the plates being put together, and then we see the bigger picture at the end of season one. Season two, we have her, Dedra Miro, on Narkina 2. We all know that the first Death Star gets destroyed after A New Hope, and then Return of the Jedi. The second Death Star gets destroyed, and it's a much bigger. I think it's a bigger version than the first Death Star. They built it bigger the second time, and that gets
That was smart. That was real smart.
yeah.
I have a
But then,
question.
yeah,
This is separate. I'm just curious about this. Um, is there anything in the Star Wars universe, like any entry that covers how Palpatine became Emperor?
well, yeah, the prequel trilogy.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah, because he was a senator from Naboo,
Order
Okay.
66, buddy.
and then and then he has the vote of no, basically the vote of no confidence for Chancellor Valorum, who's like the president of the Republic at the time, and then he
Oh,
ends
this is
up taking his
episodes. This is episodes 1, 2, and 3.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't see those. Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
you got some work
Okay.
to do.
I
yeah,
do.
yeah. So yeah, at the end of episode 3 is when Order 66 happens. He kills off
The
majority of the
young
Jedi, and
ones.
he declares it. It's not a republic anymore, but the Galactic Empire, and he is the Emperor. That's how he becomes Emperor Palpatine.
Got you. Okay.
And supposedly he
That's
doesn't hide himself anymore because he was using some type of glamour to make him look normal because of his dark side powers. And
got
now
you.
that
I
he's kind of
see.
out, he was
This
he was
is
blaming it on the attack. The Jedi had basically disfigured him and made him ugly.
okay.
Yeah, Mace Windu and Kit Fisto.
Yeah,
This is the stuff where it's like I don't do it. I have the high ground. That stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yep.
yeah,
Okay.
that's
All right.
episode 3 right there.
That's
That's
the battle on Mustafar between Obi-Wan and Anakin.
so
Okay.
Anakin gets disfigured.
Okay.
No, he was
So
supposed to be
ridiculous.
my brother, Anakin.
Oh man, you felt the dark side, broski.
Yeah,
But yeah, honestly, like this has been like the best Star Wars, like non-Jedi Sith, like no lightsabers Star Wars thing ever.
It's true. There were
Like
no
I agree with what y'all said earlier about um just like the how grounded it was,
yeah,
its relevance to society, like where we are in society. I think that it's always that weird moment where you're watching something, watching some type of media that's fictional that aligns with what's happening in this moment, whatever we're living, like what people are living through. So it's always like that always adds a nice touch to it. Like, man, this is very relevant and needed. Um, so overall, it was like all the themes, everything was amazing. For me, I was really drawn to, as said before, I'm a big fan of Clea. Episode 10 was probably one of my favorite episodes. 10 and 11 were my favorite, but 10 gave us more context. And it left me with a lot more questions,
yeah,
because I really wanted to know, like, what role Luthen had within like this particular faction or army, and like who are they after? Like they're clearly killing women and children,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like people that were innocent. So, but it was also interesting how like he himself, he was a part of that faction that was committing that violence. But he, in that moment that we meet him, or that Clea meets him, he is taking himself out of the fight. Like he doesn't want to be a part of this.
yeah.
So that was like very powerful. That was just a powerful scene. I was like, this is trash. There's a whole massacre happening outside the ship.
And
Um,
that's poignant that you bring that up because it's
mhm.
like that at that point, and he meets her, and then he sees her anger after watching her people basically get slaughtered. Where he it almost kind of like reinvigorates him.
Yeah.
You know, like I almost like he's ready to get out of it, and it's like a reason for him to remember why
Mhm.
Mhm.
he's doing it. You know, like
And he
he's
also realizes that, and he teaches her. In that moment when you're seeing the people getting executed in public, that's
Yeah.
what you're talking about, the anger. that what you're talking about? When she's
Yeah.
standing there watching,
Yeah.
and he realizes like, yeah, we can do something right now and win this small battle. And you take out them, they're going to come back harder. But you have to continually lose and lose and lose until the perfect time to strike, and then you can win. But it's like we're going to have to take our lumps, and that means society at large is going to be taking their lumps as you kind of watch it happen. But he's like, yeah, you have to hold on to that anger that you have right now,
That
which is
fire.
kind of weird because it seems like he's on the light side, but he's using almost like dark side ideology.
Yeah, he is.
Hold on
And
to that
that's
anger. Let it guide your actions. Like, you know
oh
what I
my,
mean? Like,
and when you
use it.
talk about morality, like that's for me,
There's oh
humanizing. Oh, what's up? Go ahead, Johnson. You good?
no, I was just you get your point, and then yeah, I'll go.
Okay. With ISB agents, we talk about the morality of them. I'm like, they're trying to humanize them. That's cool and all, but Luthen is more intriguing to me because like he's literally doing morally questionable things for the good of the rebellion, and I'm like, in some ways he's a villain, but he's making sacrifices for the sake of the greater good. And I'm like, this is layered. This is complex.
It is.
Um,
It is. I was just gonna say I think this whole there's such an interesting um dichotomy in like friction between like the idea of like stability in a sense and also chaos and how you like stability in terms of like how the empire is running. They move one way and it's their system that is oppressive, and then you have the rebellion that has to be malleable. They have to be so changeable to be able to combat effectively everything that's being thrown at them, that's being thrown at society at large, um, to stop them. And they have to be so changeable at their core. Like they cannot have a strong, they can't have stability of any kind
mhm,
if they want to keep going. And it's interesting that you talk about Luthen and how he's adopting kind of dark side traits, where it's like hold on to that anger. It's almost like you need to hold on to something,
Mm.
something to be able to, something that drive you, even if
mhm,
everything else about you changes. If you have to be who you need to be to enter into this place, or be amongst these people to get intel, whoever you need to turn into, whatever ideologies you need to adopt, you need something to hold on to drive you forward. And
mhm,
his is like, there's an anger, uh, and I think there's an interesting discussion about anger versus hatred, which is what the empire is driven by, right?
mhm,
So there's anger and then there's hatred. And I feel like hatred is flat and anger is malleable, I feel.
Mm.
I don't know.
Okay, that's interesting.
yeah, interpretation.
Um, did y'all at first it took me a minute to kind of piece it together that Luthen killed Lonnie on that bench because they cut away quick.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't
I
want it.
was
You
like,
see,
did
you
he
see,
shoot him
there's
or
a
poison
blaster
him?
bolt right here,
Yeah, I
and
had
he
to
just
watch
kind
that
of jumped,
twice.
and that loaf cat or that dog, whatever the hell that was, came and
Mhm,
notices that he's like lifeless on the bench, but you don't hear a sound. You just see a surprised look on Lonnie's face, and then like nothing. It's like, but you don't hear the pew. You don't hear none
yeah.
of that.
Yeah,
And it
that one kind of threw me for a loop. I knew stuff was off when he got the information he needed. They cut to Luthen walking,
he was
looking.
walking fast.
He's walking fast, and the camera was on an angle. Anytime he do a Dutch tilt, that means something off.
Yeah,
That's like film 101 right there. I'm like, the camera's crooked. That means this man did something.
yeah.
And so when they cut back, I was like, I initially for some reason I didn't notice the wound
Mhm.
initially because I was like, did he poison him? But then Clea gives him a gun, so of course he used the gun and killed him. But I was like, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
he
like,
just had
Lonnie got
that.
played.
It
I'm
was
like,
it was
dang,
the
Lonnie.
it was the look normal face. When he's
Yeah.
fast walking through the city, like, look normal, look normal, look normal, look
Mhm.
normal, look normal. If you look normal, they won't suspect you. So
They
he's just
won't.
walking off, and I knew something was wrong then. And yeah, I'm wondering if he knew that was going to be the play all along because they had been meeting up for years in that little elevator.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're a loose end, and the fact that I knew he was toast when he told them where he was going.
Oh, we said yeah.
Yeah, and then old boy didn't even. He's like, "What is
He
that?"
was,
Like,
yeah.
he wasn't even aware of the existence of this planet.
What is a yapping? I don't
Yeah,
know what that is. He's gonna die today is what that
he's like, "Yeah,
means.
that's a wrap." Like he done told you the secret sauce, and no one can know the secret sauce right now. So I don't think he gonna leave you alive and possibly like. I wonder if he did that thinking he would protect his wife and kid by letting that just kind of play
Mm.
out, and so he can't be implicated if he's dead. None of the information gets got, and they don't clap up his family as well. So I don't know
Yeah.
if that was part of it.
And on top of that, um, there was something that was very interesting about just like how Lucian always lies. And just in general, how he was kind of teaching Clea as a child how to kind of like be in this fight and how to control herself.
Yeah, how to
And
react
I
and
thought
not
it
react.
was, yeah, exactly. So it was like that scene where like after she's kind of I wouldn't say she's radicalized after she watches the kid that kid and those innocent people being killed at the firing squad. And then they kind of jump to what I thought was Naboo. Was that Naboo?
Yes,
Okay, I'm not crazy. Whoa. I was like,
where
this
they
planet,
blew up the things on
yes,
the bridge.
yes.
Yeah, and
Was
he's
that
like,
Naboo?
"Look, don't look where the
Yeah, don't
before the
look like,
explosion
don't look
happened. Look
obvious.
after. Wait,
Yeah, she like, and I was like, I kind of like that like subtlety where it's like he's already training her, like obviously like they need to act like they're inconspicuous, like they're just there eating dinner, eating lunch, and so it was very interesting how he kind of like set her up in this situation, or I was training her in this situation, and I was like, yep, they about that life now. She's in it.
yeah,
And it's so jarring too, to like have to appear like nothing's happening, and then you're making all of these like world altering moves at the same time.
That's diabolical right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to have them like you have a sniper squad out there, and the shots ring out. And you're like, oh, they got all three of them, and they'd be like, wait, you wasn't supposed to know how many. Like you can't, you gotta act surprised, like everybody else is surprised. So you wait
Yeah,
and
you
react,
do.
they react, and you look in the direction that they look, so that you look like you're a part of the regular normal people, not
Mhm.
the agitators or the insurrectionists or the terrorists or whatever that you want to phrase them as at the time, the rebellion. You don't want to look like you're part of that. You want to look like you're part of the regular people so that
Yeah.
you won't be implicated. Because I'm sure
Yeah.
if someone's recording and you staring at the place that's supposed to blow up before it blows up and watch, and then you don't jump because you know it's about to happen. Um,
The jig is up, buddy.
yeah,
And it was, and on top of that, there was in that scene. It was interesting how he was telling her to kind of pay attention to where she is. And it was kind of a reminder for her. It was also this kind of context, subcontext, or just this layer of like you need to pay attention to what you're fighting for because like you're looking at you have your enemy on this bridge, but then you have a bunch of people that are kind of sitting, eating peacefully,
yeah,
in this beautiful, in this, and having a good day.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a reminder of like that's the thing that you're fighting for is that like illusion of freedom or the freedom and peace to like go out in the world and just exist.
Hmm.
And that was something that she needed to learn and know that's what they're fighting for because that stuff will be those freedoms and rights will be taken away by the empire.
There's a that moment reminded me of I don't know if you play Final Fantasy X. I can't remember if you told me you
Oh, it's
have or
been a
not.
minute. It's been a minute.
But there's a moment in that game where Yuna and the rest of her team they
Mhm.
reach the area right before they go to Xanarkand, the final stop on their
Okay.
pilgrimage.
Okay.
And
I
Yuna
remember that
kind
place.
of, yeah. And so it's like at the top of Mount Gagazet, and she looks out at, and she does this at every stop. And the game makes a point of, letting you know that she does this, but she looks out and is just kind of taking in her surroundings. And the main character who's narrating the game, he basically is explaining, he's like, she is saying goodbye to these places. She's like looking and taking in
Mm.
all of these places that she has called home and saying thank you and goodbye because she's on her way to essentially sacrifice herself. to end this world threat. And that moment made me think of that.
Mm,
Mm.
great connection. Great connection.
There was no fluff in this series to me.
No.
Do we feel like we got like episodes that we could have just done without filler?
No, we didn't. That's what. No,
Everything
no
to me
fillers.
was needed. There was no fat to burn off.
If anything, I could say that I enjoyed our little 1.5. It felt like 30 minutes. I now want to sit down and be like, how much was the runtime for them for Cassian being stuck on the planet? I'll make the argument. I enjoyed it, but I could make the argument like he could have got off that planet faster.
Oh, you mean the one where he landed the in episode
Yeah,
one where he
yeah,
landed the
yeah. Episode
passenger?
1, 2, and was that the first
Okay,
trilogy episodes? He could have got off that planet a little bit faster. But that I feel like that's one of those. That was the only point in the series where I felt like this was a very like that was a. It felt like we started off kind of fast with his escape, and then it kind of slows down
yeah,
a little. Not you could nitpick and say it was a little unnecessarily slow. It slowed down a little bit too much, but outside of that, like everything was like perfect, like near perfect.
yeah. It's like I said, it's close to a 10 as we can get. I don't give any shows a 10, but it's got to be 9.5. It's up there.
I'll give it a 10.
You give it a 10.
I'll slap my cards down. I'll give it a 10.
What about you, Jocelyn?
I don't have any complaints. Like it was a full show. Again, like you said, there was no fluff. Everything everyone was doing was purposeful. I think all of the characters had arcs, that completed. I feel,
Yeah,
uh, and the settings were incredible. Also, like the set dressing was amazing. I like that
Mm-hmm.
we got to see um what's the planet in question that was gonna get drilled? Uh
Gorman.
Gorman.
Gorman. I I liked that town. Like I liked that planet and the
Mm-hmm.
people in it. Like I also liked that their accents were French for some uh you know, I think fashion was also like I know Cassian was cosplaying as a fashion designer, but I think fashion was also part of their society too, right?
Yeah,
I
that
like
they had this special weave that they made clothes out of. So yeah,
yeah, I liked that. Like I really liked all that world building, these people. Um I I remember feeling there was something poignant I remember thinking about like the choices that were made to make these people this way. Um oh, like their it was something about like the spider. Yeah, it was like the spider was like their kind of planet icon because they're weavers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and I was like, oh, it's like their planet is like the connecting thread to everything that's going
Mm.
on. And I just thought that was really cool. Um, I liked how also they were fighters. I mean, not everybody on that planet, but like that planet had their own. Uh, they were trying their best to figure out. Uh,
what to
how to,
do? How to? Yeah, I
yeah,
don't think they were fighters necessarily, but
no,
they were to
not
a point where
fighters.
they couldn't not fight.
Yeah, yeah. I don't mean like they were trained or anything. I just mean that like in the sense that they were trying to do something, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, I just I liked it. It was great. I thought this was um like an excellent take on the resistance
Mhm.
and what it really looks like down to the nitty-gritty, you know.
Yeah,
Um yeah, I liked it. I'll say 10.
you said okay. So you got 9.5 and 2 10s. That's
I don't
Two
have any
cans.
I don't have any complaints.
high marks for a show. One of the best shows I've seen in a few years, I think. And I think until something comes along the top of it, it's going to be one of the top shows for a while.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't what like how did they top this? Like would the answer be to make a grounded Jedi series? But I
Maybe, but
mean, but is that really the answer? It's just I don't like Kenobi try I mean Kenobi was cool, but a little slow.
Yeah.
Ahsoka suffers from the same elements,
Ah.
and it's like I don't like. Something about the writing needs to shift. They just need to get Tony Gilroy and everything, I guess.
Yeah. When nigga said Mon had to pretend act in her marriage, and in the Senate she was unhappily living in an arranged marriage, and then she set up her daughter in an arranged marriage, so it's a big cycle facade. And she,
Excellent point. Like
Also true.
it's it's like a big point to where she didn't understand what was going on, so she just perpetuated the
hilarious.
same cycle.
She
Thelma
also
and
says, "I want Belle
Louise.
and Claire to get a spinoff of the spinoff. They need their Thelma and Louise moment. That would be interesting, but
They would just be busting people up. It'd
yeah,
be great.
where I'd be curious to see where and when they would operate though, because once it's the opposite now, I think, because they become the New Republic becomes the established, and I think what we're getting, I think they're doing Thrawn. We get the Mando and Grogu movie that's coming out. They
Oh,
also have
what?
yeah,
Oh, I forgot about it.
we got Thrawn coming out, so maybe it's going to be more Empire focused with the new Empire, I guess, or the Remnant. That's what.
Those are people from the Mandalorian.
No, Thrawn is a character written by Timothy Zahn. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's been in I think Rebels, Clone Wars,
He was in Ahsoka.
Ahsoka.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the blue-faced alien that it comes up in Ahsoka that's trapped in the other like universe.
Dimension, yeah, another
Yeah,
universe. What's the what are they called? Dothraki
the
witches?
Dothraki witches come back
Yeah.
with the space whales that enable them to come back to the main
Oh, the space land.
galaxy. He's like a military genius that ends up being so talented that it defeats the xenophobia of the Empire. Because if you notice, the Empire doesn't have non-humans in it at all. So the only one that you will see in uniform is Grand Admiral Thrawn, and he was so genius that they just couldn't deny him. And
See,
yeah, the
see,
kid.
Brian, the way you talk about this character, he sounds dope, and he reminded me why he fell flat on Ahsoka. And I was like, yep. So that show wasn't the best, but it was something. It was cool. It was all right.
It was all right.
It was all right. It was all right.
We didn't get to see him. Like I remember reading Heir to the Empire where he basically gets ready to attack a planet that has a shield over it, and he defeats them by studying their art, and ends up not even lifting a finger. They don't even actually kill anybody. I don't think they just surrender, and all from studying their art. Like he was so smart, he would study the art from the planet and figure out how to defeat them mentally, and then sometimes he wouldn't even actually fight them. Got another comment here. I also want Saw's backstory. We just talked about that earlier. I'm loving the stories with rebels going rogue for the resistance. Yeah, we I don't know if you were listening at the time, but we talked about that earlier. Where I think I'd like his backstory even further than what we get in Clone Wars or Rebels. Lastly, I wish there was a scene showing Edie. Well, we do kind of get. You want the revenge plot? That's what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh
Remember
my
last week
goodness.
she was talking about. Monica said
Yeah.
she wanted the revenge of Edie to be played out on Dedra.
Ain't happening.
Was she going to show up on the prison planet and shank
Oh
her?
my Edie's in jail. Be like, hey, I got her. She old and she found her way into the prison, which wouldn't make sense. And then she's like, all right, time for you to pay.
She has a
Or she
vibroblade.
paid somebody on the inside to
Hero
get her.
sends his regards.
Yep. Shank. And leaves her on the floor that's flooded
Then
with
she sits down
electricity.
with the bowl of cereal and blue milk at the end, just eating it, waiting for the authorities to arrive. Like I'm not even running. I did what I came to do.
Mm-mm-mm.
Man, that would be hilarious. Appreciate y'all for taking the time out of your day to chop it up with me about these things. Thank you, Monica, and our other lurker. I see there's someone else watching, but they haven't commented. So I don't know what your name is, but thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to us talk about these things. We will be figuring out very soon what we talk about next, and we will let you know when that happens. Like I said in the description, when this is uploaded to Spotify, we will have links to all of our websites if you are also interested in our creative endeavors in addition to what we've discussed. Thank y'all. We'll see you next time.
Peace.